So the quote from Todd Zolecki's story by Bryce Harper here got me real excited. So yesterday, Jason Stark was on with my old buddy Andrew Salchunas on The Fanatic and basically said, I haven't heard one upper level, upper hierarchy Phillies member mention Blake Snell or Jordan Montgomery. He basically mentioned the draft picks and the penalties for going over the next threshold as reasons why, and that they think they have a really good team. Matt Gelb also kind of backed that up where he said, I don't believe the Phillies are really in on Snell or Montgomery. Now, as we know with Bryce Harper, comes power and sway and influence. And he, grandstanded for Trey Turner on a broadcast with John Kruk. Trey Turner's here. He said the Phillies have Aaron Nola and Zack Wheeler locked up. That's as good as it gets. When Bryce Harper wants something, it gets done. Now, reading this quote from Bryce in Todd's story, I think I'm back to getting excited again. I love Jason Stark and Matt Gelb. I'm not doubting what they've heard. But when Bryce Harper says something like this publicly, I think it's done with purpose and reason. And here's what he had to say. Having the opportunity to have a 1-2 punch with Wheels and Knowles, got to call him
Wheels
Knowles.
And Knowles.
Yeah, got to call him Knowles, of course.
He's a nickname guy, too, clearly.
Yeah, that makes sense. That checks. Wheels and Knowles, there's not much like it in baseball, he said. We have an opportunity to have a 1A and 1A again with the two guys up there at the top. Then you go Ranger and two other guys still out there right now. So we might have a chance at those two guys as well. Oh, baby.
Man.
With part of signing Bryce Harper was this power in Major League Baseball, and he is a magnetizing force. And when he says something to John Middleton and Dave Dombrowski, it carries real weight. And he just told Todd Zolecki that the Phillies might have a chance at those two guys. Caution be damned. I'm back in. Let's get irrational. Go get one of these guys.
Listen, I've been intrigued by the rumors that have circulated because we've had conflicting ones. We talked about this on the show yesterday. You have Bob Nightingale claiming that the Phillies are included in the interest for a short-term deal for Blake Snell, but on the other side, there's been Jason Stark comes out and contradicts that and says the Phillies haven't talked to Blake Snell at all. And in this piece that Todd Zolecki put out, they were also mentioning, and that was also mentioned the exact same thing, that sources said Snell and Montgomery are unlikely. The Phillies have expressed little to no interest in Snell throughout free agency, even on a short-term deal. One reason, as we talked about yesterday, as we all know, is they would lose draft picks and international bonus pool money because he's attached to a qualifying offer. And I read that, and I think nothing is impossible, even despite the fact that we keep hearing these sources claiming the Phillies are not connected. If Bryce Harper says it, much like Garrett Stubbs talks about in the clubhouse, Bryce Harper, it all runs through number 3, from the music to the team. I know somebody was mentioning in the chat he's going to be a minority owner. He already basically is. This is Bryce Harper. Professional sports teams in general run through their superstar, their best player. Whatever they say goes. And the fact that he sprinkled that out there is no surprise, especially after locking in on Wheels because, and as he even said earlier, he knew that the deal to get the extension for Wheels was the priority, but there's more to be done. So I know on the flip side, Dave Dombrowski was saying, there is a limit of how much we can do. It's not unlimited, but those will question, those will be questions that we'll face, at the end of the year as our season progresses about, in future moves, even talking about next offseason. But let's be honest, just like we're having this conversation, these conversations are being had, whether they're being publicly shared or not.